what tips can you give to immigrants who are uninformed of Canada's or the Canadian financial system?
If you talk about tips, is first finding financial advisors that you can interact with and connect with around you. Because anybody you just meet who is coming to Canada, what their priority is how to ensure that this money that I'm bringing in doesn't finish. People are coming in with saved money and they don't know how to navigate the financial systems. But these 4 questions will guide your financial planning. This is where we will now start coming specifically to RRSP, using it towards retirement. Based on statistics, over 70% of people are coming back from retirement because they cannot sustain retirement. And there are many strategies you can put in place that will give you consistent cash flow at retirement. But most people are not aware, for example, where to keep your money, how to grow your money, what type of investment strategies can you put in place. But most people plan for their current needs, but they don't envisage the future needs and strategize for it. You know, as low as $20, you can get an insurance plan. A simple term 10, which can be converted over a period of time. My mentality is not to sell you insurance. My mentality is to show you what insurance can do for you.
Before I even continue, just for the record, would you mind introducing yourself? Let's even get to know you. Who is Ajiri?
Okay. All right. So, if we continue talking who Ajiri Alibo is, we'll not live here today. But I wear many hats, right? I'm a father of 5 girls. I'm blessed amongst women. One of the blessings I got when I came to Canada was a set of triplets. So that was in 2019, and it was a different experience for me because when you're living in Nigeria, I used to remember those days when somebody will have multiple kids and the father disappears. The father runs away and they will say, "Where's the father?" But me, I just come to Canada, escaping Nigeria, and now I found out my wife was pregnant with triplets, and I'm like, where do I run to? Back to Nigeria. I have no option than to stay here. So, so we had to face it. But Nigeria Alibo is a father of 5 girls. I'm an author too. You can see my book behind. I'm also a licensed insurance advisor. I'm a trained HR specialist. I'm a project manager, just like every Nigerian. We have all the titles, BSc, MSc, all of the old CC, but we don't use all of it, but it's still part of what we learn. I've been in Canada for 6 years now, and I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I run and own few businesses across Canada, which has exposed me to lots of people and lots of experiences, growing a business here in Canada.
Thank you for that. So many immigrants lack awareness of the financial system in Canada. What tips can you give to immigrants who are uninformed of Canada's or the Canadian financial system? What tips can you give to them?
So, when you first come to Canada, right? Because I've interacted with a lot of people. I have over 1,000 clients, right? So I've interacted with all kinds of mindsets. First and foremost, people are coming in with saved money and they don't know how to navigate the financial systems. And the first point of call for every one of us is the bank, because that's where we want to keep our money, and we trust the bank because we can always go to the bank at any point in time, right? Because every community has a bank, so the bank is always our first point of call. And most times you go to the bank, no offense, the banks are okay, right? When you go there, they help you keep your money, proof of funds, right? But sometimes they don't give us clear financial advice as immigrants. Because when we come in, they just tell you, okay, you can set up a TFSA. Sometimes most immigrants don't even understand what a TFSA means, or what an RSP means, or for someone like us that come from a country like Nigeria, right? Savings account will grow your money in Nigeria. But when you come here, if you grow your money with a savings account, you're not seeing anything significant, or any growth you have is subject to taxes, which is capital gain tax in most cases. So most times people don't know this. And truth be told, there are lots of advisors out there, who talks about different things. And now the world we're all exposed with AI coming in now. People can just go on ChatGPT and ask questions and all of that, which is an advantage to the world. But one thing is that most people read things, but they don't really understand it. So that's why having financial advisors most times help, even if it's just to have that interaction with people. Because for us, we are a lot in our community that are trying to help more and more people from the immigrant community. But we have people in the banks too who help. But before you get a financial advisor sit down with you, you have to maybe schedule a time. you know, they might not be there immediately, but you can reach out to people like us by text messages, or and would respond in many ways. So first and foremost, if you talk about tips, is first finding financial advisors that you can interact with and connect with around you. Also, getting information from online sources like this, like your YouTube page, for example, where lots of people are out there that get information. This can also help. Also, connecting with your bank, and you can talk to your bank and see if they can give you an advisor that could at least spend some time with you explaining a few things. And you can also, in some cases, right, like we said, go on Google and everything, but you can connect with people anywhere who can help you out in navigating the financial systems, the basic things, right? For example, where to keep your money, how to grow your money, what type of investment strategies can you put in place. And there are lots of WhatsApp groups too that help out in all of this too. You can get information from people. you know yeah, I believe that could help a few people.
I mean, thank you so much, Ajay. While you were speaking, you mentioned something. I think we touched it briefly, but I would also like you to expand on that. RRS, the registered uh, retirement savings plan. Many people would want to find something that guaranteeing them or give them security when they are done working. And it is, from what I've heard from you guys, but it's important to note that RRSPs are crucial, and understanding how these RRSPs can even go a long way in helping them. So, how an immigrant, how can someone either new to the system or has been in the system and doesn't know, how can they take, how can they benefit from and how can they take legal advantage of the financial system for their own benefits? If you can
Okay.
expand.
So when it comes to financial planning, there are four important questions I like to ask my clients, because one of the challenges I see is that most people focus on one aspect and they ignore the other aspect, and it affects them in the long run. So these are the four questions that I ask, and this will benefit as many people that are listening to this, because if you're able to protect these four areas of your finance, or four, if you're able to answer these four questions effectively, it will help you in your financial planning. Number one, what if you cannot function at 100%? Very important question people don't think about, right? If you cannot function at 100%, what are the two main things that can make you not function at 100%? Do you have an idea? Maybe if one is disabled or an illness. People don't think that things like this can happen. Like I said, I've worked with over 1,000 people, and I've seen cases where we set up a clear investment strategy for the person, and 7 months down the line, there's a cancer. So the investment strategy that you set up, because they cannot function at 100%, they are not able to work, they are not able to invest anymore. Everything suffers, right? But what if there's a lump sum that is there that can replace their income? They can pay their bills, because when a person falls critically ill or is disabled, the bills do not know. The bills will keep coming. So what strategies do you have in place to ensure that if anything happens, I'm earning 100,000 a year, I can get 100,000 payout, and I can still take care of my bills? So that's the first question. What if you cannot function at 100%? What strategies do you have in place to cover that? The second question is, what if life happens? Right? What if life happens? What happens to the mortgage? What happens to the kids? What happens to the family income? What strategies do you have in place for that? Because life can happen, right? To anyone. Just last week, we lost an 18-year-old in Saskatchewan. It's on the news, right? He went hiking and all, right? And this was someone that we just put in a simple plan for the person, simple insurance plan for the 18-year-old. He the parents didn't want to put it, but we just said, just put a strategy in place where they can grow the money, and in the future, at least, they can access this money. And life now happened 1 year into the plan. And guess what? Where one of our advisors was in the house of this family, and the police called and said, start preparing for funeral. It's a sad story. Funeral cost in Canada, minimum in most provinces, $25,000. So they've lost a loved one. There's a $25,000 debt already on their head. And, it's a sad one, because at the end of the day, if the breadwinner or the income provider of a family passes on, like we said, the bills do not know that. The bills will keep coming. The expenses now has increased. Now the one income has stopped. So what happens to that family? So even if it's a simple term insurance, a simple strategy just to put an insurance protection to protect the family's income, very, very important. So that is one strategy also that people should put in place, right? Then the third one, sorry about that. The third question is my children's education, because most of us, when you tell people, why are you coming to Canada, they'll say it's for their kids, right? It's always the answer. We're doing it for our kids, but we're doing it for ourselves too, and for everyone. So, but your children's education is not free. College education, we know, is in Canada is not free. Right now, high school and the rest can be a bit free, but when you get to college, there are two options you have. You are either paying interest or you're growing interest. So we have what we call the RESP that you can take advantage of and maximize it and grow interest. But if not, when your child gets to college, it's either money comes out of your pocket or they are taking a loan, of which the loan is not a bad idea, because you can still have the RESP and take the loan and the grants. then use the RESP over time to pay off the loan. There are different strategies we can use for that, but have an RESP. At least let the government contribute money into it. Government can contribute up to 7,200 in the lifetime of the RESP, and that money can add and grow that money, and your child can at least have something to supplement their college education, right? That, and college education is not going to be cheap in the next 10, 15 years. Nothing is going down, everything is going up. So what projections and plans do you have for that? If your kids are 4 years old today, the next 14 years they will be in college. What strategies do you have in the next 14 years at least to put at least something in place, right? So that's the third question. Then we have the fourth question, right? And that's the question you started with: retirement. Retirement is a big deal, because if you retire, let's just assume that a person retires at 65 and you live for another 25 years. The question is, how much is enough for the next 25 years? So some people start planning retirement when they turn 55 or in their late 50s or early 50s, but there's no better time to start planning for retirement than now. But the question is, some people will tell you, we don't have enough money, we are barely surviving, and all of this. This is where you have to now come down and analyze your finances. But retirement is a key thing. Based on statistics, over 70% of people are coming back from retirement right now to continue working in Canada because they cannot sustain retirement. And there are many strategies you can put in place that will give you consistent cash flow at retirement. But most people are not aware. And time is something that doesn't wait for anyone here in Canada. We know. Before you know it, you have done 10 years in Canada and you're wondering, what did you do with your 10 years, right? So what strategies do you have in place for retirement? So I know I've not answered your question, but these 4 questions will guide your financial planning. This is where we will now start coming specifically to RRSP, using it towards retirement, or maybe it might not work for your retirement because not every strategy works for everyone. Then TFSA, there's what we call the cash value life insurance. You can also leverage that. You can start a business. You can leverage different strategies that at least can give you consistent cash flow when it comes to retirement. So I don't believe that one strategy works for everyone. I believe that it should be tailored based on your current needs and your future needs. So, but most people plan for their current needs, but they don't envisage the future needs and strategize for it. But it's part of why they need our services, right? So that we can help them and direct them in the right path. Okay.
Wow. So I think we're very blessed to have you on this on this call, in this session. I I we should be paying for this, but we're happy and glad that you are giving us some so a tip or a little bit of the big thing for many people who need these things. But so I see you have your hand raised. You have a question. Please go ahead.
So my question is this, and I see this a lot. As an immigrant also, when I came into Canada, a lot of us, and I don't blame anybody for this, but I think that it can be better, things can be done better. A lot of us didn't have a lot of this financial information in terms of how the financial system works. You will find out that most of the time when you're looking for information regarding Canada, information you find most times is right from people, even settlement agencies, everything is, how to get your children into school, what type of schools are available, looking out for how to get, your benefits, your childcare benefits, whatever support you need, how to open a bank account, how to do this, how to do that. But a lot of the financial nitty-gritty into how things work in Canada is you don't find it out there. And coming from a system in Nigeria that is quite different to Canada, we have to tell ourselves the truth. It's different. The Nigerian system is a very, very cash-based society and cash-based economy. If you do not have it, you do not. If you do not have the money, you do not buy it. You get me? Over here in Canada, there are a lot of things that you can go and pick up, even not having the full amount. It's a credit-based economy. Based on your credit score, your credit rating, you can walk into a dealership tomorrow and pick up a brand new car. You can walk into an electronics store tomorrow and pick up new electronics to furnish your house and all these kind of things. You can even go and get a house right now if you have the means and your credits. But one thing again I realize is that, especially when it comes to this life insurance, is to a lot of Nigerians is a sensitive topic for us. And one situation stands out for me. And when I say this, is that because sometimes when a lot of Nigerians, when we come in and we move in here, people say, we think of it this way, that give them time, let them settle down, maybe let them start working, husband start working, wife start working, they just come in. You cannot bring in this, someone can just come in, today, tomorrow, and you are already telling them about life insurance and blah, 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 blah. But sometimes when you think about it physically, and this situation stands out, you find out that there's actually no wrong time and there's no actual right time to tell anybody about it or to speak to them about it. There was a situation I saw that happened where a family of 4 came in and they were not more than a week or something. They came to Canada. I don't know what happened. They came in that week. People say village people. Like I was saying, village people. That they came in within that week. Wife just fell ill and she passed away. I'm sure that even the man, he's still trying to grasp what is going on. 2 children, the wife has passed away, he's the only one. And now the government has come to him to say, we need to bury this woman, so get ready for burial expenses. Someone who just come in within a week and there's $25,000 debt on you. So that kind of person, should it have been from day one that maybe he came in, someone should have told him that, Oga, go and do this thing, or should, because I've seen people come out in groups to say, I just came here, I've not used more than 3 weeks. Somebody's already telling me about life insurance. You people gone, you don't even used to take it, blah, 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 blah. But the truth is, when life happens, life does not warn you, or sometimes tell you when it is happening. So I was going to put this question to you, that what do you think? Do you think that this is information that maybe the Nigerian community should start maybe putting out there, especially for Nigerians? All of us are in WhatsApp groups, and a lot of us, when we want to come in, we're in WhatsApp groups trying to get information. Do you think this is information that should start being out there so that when people come in immediately, maybe it's something they are getting? Or do you think that the sensitivity to it, maybe people should still just wait and, well, hopefully situations like what happened to that man doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
So thanks for that question, Lucy. The fact is that, we have to keep talking about it, but in an educational way, because most times when it comes to salesy, people just resist and they don't want to hear. Because anybody you just meet who is coming to Canada, what their priority is how to ensure that this money that I'm bringing in doesn't finish. The second one is, how can I ensure that I get a job immediately? So at that moment, their mindset is not about insurance or investment or anything. They just need to get a job. It's only a few people who are investment savvy that will say, okay, this money, maybe that I came with, let me invest a bit of it and ensure that at least this money doesn't finish. I'll take yourself as an example too. When you came in, you started a simple plan of $50 because you understood the importance, and you've been in the investment world. So it was important for you at that moment. You could see the importance and advantage. But not everybody will see it in that way. But the education, everybody should know about it, be aware of it. Then maybe, because it depends on how also the insurance advisors out there are positioning it too. Because sometimes they are not positioning it in a good way. And it makes the industry look bad. Because people are trying to force a product on you or sell you a product most times, instead of them giving you awareness and advice or education on how best to take advantage of this and that, how to come up with even, as low as $20, you can get an insurance plan. Yeah, as low as $30, you can get an insurance plan. A simple term 10, which can be converted over a period of time. But people don't know this, because whenever people set up a presentation, they are showing you 200, 300, and all of this. So in their minds, this thing, I can't afford to do it now, and they end up not doing it. So maybe our messaging has to change, as advisors, putting these things out there and educating more and more people.
I mean, Busi, thank you so much, Ajiri, for that. Before you ask that question, it was my next line of questioning, because in previous videos we did touch a little bit on life insurance, and I remember Emeka talking about the mentality of us as Nigerians. We are very superstitious. Nobody wants to talk about anything that has to do with death. And when you bring it up, everybody is saying, no, it's not me, it's not my portion, and all that. And how have you, and now having the experience of talking to over 1,000 different people and advising them on insurance, how have you been able to penetrate their mentality, their mindset, to make them feel comfortable about the advantages of life insurance? Because if things go south, it is very difficult, I believe, for somebody who is in a foreign land, in a country like Canada, where I hear that funeral costs are so high, people are doing lots of GoFundMe and all that. So it will be very tough. So if people hear that, how are you able to have that conversation with someone to convince them that, oh, this is something that is good? It's not, you're not wishing death on yourself by thinking about it or exploring it. How are you able to do that with your friends, knowing that you're talking?
So the idea here is that one thing I've learned about sales is that you cannot convince anybody. That's my own opinion, right? But you can help people make the right decisions by making them see the possibilities in front of them. So the idea here is that my mentality is not to sell you insurance. My mentality is to show you what insurance can do for you, right? So it's a different mindset. Because if I try to sell you something, so I'll give you an example, Mr. Shegu. If I come to your house right now and tell you, buy this hammer, let me say I'm selling a hammer. The first thing you will tell me is that I don't need it. Yeah, hey, why do I need it? But if I come to your house and say, Mr. Shegun, look at this hole here. If you buy this hammer, we can cover this hole. It's no longer about the hammer. It's now about your problem. So it's just the way most people position these things. That's what makes a difference. That's why, I took it upon myself to say, okay, let me start training more and more people on how their messaging can be better in our industry. That's why I run different coaching programs for insurance advisors and entrepreneurs, because this is not just even for insurance advisors, even entrepreneurs too. Our communication is not proper. That's why we're not selling more. And sales is key, right? And sales, most times I ask my team members, is sales something you do to someone or something you do for someone? And some people will say, oh, something you do to someone. I said, no, it's something you do for someone, because at the end of the day, when you set up that $1 million insurance coverage, you've helped that family to protect that family's income by $1 million. That family is now $1 million in asset, richer in asset. Whatever the case, that family now has peace of mind if anything happens. So sales is not something you do to someone, it's something you do for someone. So if you have that mindset, anytime you go into a meeting, the first thing you do is, what value do you want to give this person? It's not about what do you want to sell and that commission you want to get into your pocket. No, it's about the value. you want to leave for that person, but that value has to be tied to a problem, and the person has to see the value, because if you don't see the value, you won't take action. That's just how it is. That's why I don't try to convince anyone. I just go into a presentation and I explain everything. I show you the value. It's still up to you to make that decision at the end of the day. But I will do my own part by preaching the gospel. So I see Mr. Emeka's hands up.
Can you hear me? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
we can. Yes, we
okay.
can.
Yeah, we can.
So my question will be one kind, as always. How do I know that in Nigeria our insurance policy is God forbid. That's our best insurance policy.
Blood of Jesus.
Blood of Jesus, blood of Zachariah, blood of all the blood, lamb, goat, sheep. That we don't go to church well for anyway, just things we say. Don't mind me. So do you find that in your clientele that your messaging to Africans and Caucasians or Asians are the same or different with respect to life insurance? Because I know from experience that if you approach a Nigerian to say, do you have life insurance? They will thunder fire you. You want me to die? God forbid. But when you look back in recent times, you will see that there's a lot of GoFundMe's going around where something happens and there's just not enough money to do all of these things. And as an addendum to this question, have you encountered people who opt for cremation, in order to bring down costs of dealing with death here in Canada? Thank you.